see why. Page 126.
Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
How beautiful this day. We turn to page 131 to Shirul Adonai, a song for God.
Shirul Adonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru miyom leyom Yeshuato. Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru miyom leyom Yeshuato. Shirul Adonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru miyom leyom Yeshuato. Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru miyom leyom Yeshuato.
Yismachu on page 131. It's just a little bit further down after the gap on the same page, 131.
Yismachu hashamayim, Yismachu hashamayim, Yismachu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismachu hashamayim, Yismachu hashamayim, Yismachu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umlo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo.
And we turn now to this beautiful melody, Lechadodi. This beautiful prayer, this beautiful song, 138.
Lecha dodi lekrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמעו וזכו בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שידברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Judith, we would be delighted if you could please come light our Shabbat candles for us. And if you could, before we light our candles, light our memorial candle, just in memory of the lives lost through terror, through conflict, and of course, just over the last day, the last few hours, the bodies of some more hostages have been recovered in Israel, in Gaza. They have been brought back to Israel. Let me light our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Take a moment turning to one another, wishing each other a Shabbat Shalom. we'll figure that out. We do have some visitors here tonight. We have Jacob and Nadia. Hey guys, welcome. Where's Ralph? You wanted a break? That's why I get rid of mine on a Friday night. Did I? Are we live?
Yes, we are.
Oops. Beth knows my toddler. You all know my toddler. But she's not, at 4 is no longer a toddler, right?
No, but they're just out of their terrible twos, because terrible twos last from 2.5 to 3.5.
Oh, now she's in what, the frightful 4s?
The fearless balls.
Fearless 4s. You're saying yes? Did you say yes? Are you agreeing? Would you like to share? Well, welcome everybody to Shabbat services, and welcome to those of you who are joining us on Temple David YouTube channel, Temple David Perth. Wherever you are joining us from, we welcome you tonight. Sometimes there are more people online than in shul, so it's nice to see the numbers are about balanced tonight, so that's awesome. So we are now going to continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedrem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Let us rise for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דיברת נבולתי וימלך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ופרי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עד בימיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתחנן ויתנשא, ויתהודה ויתעלה ויתהלך, שמי לקודשם ברכו, לילה מן כל בירתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד, המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
blessing that brings about the evening on page 149. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the ways in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Al kain Adonai, Eloheinu b'shachbeinu, ufkameinu nasiya b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratacha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבת אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory, may earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, It has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, la, 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 lie, la, lie, 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 lie. Mi kamocha, bailim Adonai. Mi kamocha, neda bakodesh. Nora tehilot, o sefel. Nora tehilot, o sefel. Malchutecha, ra'u banecha. בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זהלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו, a prayer of shelter of peace, to shelter all of us, on page 160.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
On page 161, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts, eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch
atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
I don't know about you, but sometimes reading some of these prayers right now, and when we're in the midst of war in Ukraine, war in Israel and Gaza, just some of these words, when you say, let there be peace and understanding, live with hope in our hearts, does it feel like it has more weight?
Yes.
Like that one and one of the prayers that I read before, like these prayers just feel so much heavier and weightier. I mean, they always had meaning before. I'm not suggesting that I was just reading these prayers because they were nice words on the page. But now they just feel so much more in depth and more relevant. And from that we head to a song for Shabbat, a prayer for Shabbat taken from Torah V'Shamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise for the Amidah, the standing prayer, in the central part of a service on page 164. Of course, once Gina has finished singing the three main blessings, we'll continue silently coming together with singing of Oseh Shalom on page 180.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagite latecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagite latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon, Komel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imachot, U'Mevii Gula Lifnei V'Nechem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מושיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הצל. בחלקי החיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא כהנים, ומציע אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני אחר, מלחמות חבל ובורות, ומדומה
l'ratzon imrefi, v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri, v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen.
May God bring peace to the entire world, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. One of the things that I've got into the habit of is listening to different podcasts while I'm driving. Does anybody do that? Who listens to podcasts? Heinrich and Kathleen, you listen to podcasts, yeah? It's quite wonderful rather than just listening to, especially in the morning when the radio is can be quite terrible. And that way you can really, and I listen to about podcasts about the daily updates and what's going on in Israel, or I listen to different Torah portions or a daily dose of Talmud, which it's starting to irritate me. The Talmud one, because it's just not going, it's so superficial, because it's really only about 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm like, what can you really learn in 4 or 5 minutes? And I came across a podcast, and you may recognize the voice. Neil, don't give it away, because we talked about this. And I thought, and I was listening to it, and I had to take a couple of different guesses, and then I did this. Hey, Siri. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Siri's now trying to activate. And Siri said, I can't give you an answer, you're driving. I just felt that this podcast on the Torah portion of the week was so relevant, I really wanted to share it with you tonight. It's only 6 minutes, but it's on the Torah portion Miketz. And those of you who know me know that I've never once shared somebody else's Parashat HaShavua, somebody else's drush. I've never done that in my entire career as a rabbi in all 18 years. But I actually had to Google something, and I'll tell you what it is afterwards, because if I tell you, you may recognize the voice, and if you do, keep it to yourself. It depends on how well you know this character. Neil heard this person on the radio all the time, so you would have picked this person up. You're probably guessing already who I'm talking about. You may have already seen it on my phone. Hopefully this will come up. We need to turn the volume up for channel. We've got so many channels down here now. We've even got the mic working at the off. And this works. The image is a whole bunch of cows. And the title is Sibling Rivalry. I've got to turn it off live. I have to turn it off Wi-Fi.
Listen to these words that are among the most fateful and reverberating in all of Jewish history. Vayakeh Yosef et achav, v'hem lo hikiruhu. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they didn't recognize him. Now, the Torah is a deep book, and we make a great mistake if we think we can understand it on one superficial level. On the surface, the story is simple. Envious of him, Joseph's brothers initially planned to kill him. Eventually, they sell him into slavery. He's taken into Egypt, and through a series of vicissitudes, he becomes prime minister, second only in rank and power to Pharaoh. It's now many years later. The brothers have come to Egypt to buy food. They come before Joseph, but he no longer looks like the man they knew many years before. Then he was a 17-year-old called Joseph. Now he's 39, an Egyptian ruler called Sophnos Paneach, dressed in official robes with a gold chain round his neck, who speaks Egyptian and uses an interpreter to communicate with these visitors from the land of Canaan. No wonder they didn't recognize him, even though he recognized them. But that is only the surface meaning. Deep down, the book of Bereshit is exploring the most profound source of all human conflict. Freud thought the great symbol of conflict was Laius and Oedipus, the tension between fathers and sons. Bereshit thinks otherwise. The root of human conflict is sibling rivalry. Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, and now Joseph and his brothers. Joseph has the misfortune of being the youngest. He symbolizes the Jewish condition. His brothers are bigger and stronger than he is. They resent his presence. They see him as a troublemaker. The fact that their father loves him only makes them angrier and more resentful. They want to kill him. In the end, they get rid of him in a way that allows them to feel a little less guilty. They concoct a story that they tell their father, and then they can settle down to life again. They can relax. There is no Joseph to disturb their peace anymore. And now they're facing a stranger in a strange land, and it simply doesn't occur to them that this man may be Joseph. As far as they're concerned, there is no Joseph. They don't recognize him now. They never did. They never recognized him as one of them, as their father's child, as their brother with an identity of his own and a right to be himself. Joseph is the Jewish people throughout history. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Judaism was the world's first monotheism, but not the last. Two others emerged, claiming descent, literal or metaphorical, from Abraham: Christianity and Islam. It would be fair to call the relationship between the three Abrahamic monotheisms one of sibling rivalry. Far from being of mere antiquarian interest, the theme of Bereshit's sibling rivalry has been the leitmotif of the better part of the last 2,000 years, with the Jewish people cast in the role of Joseph. There were times, early medieval Spain was one, when Joseph and his brothers lived together in relative harmony, convivencia as they called it. But there were also times, the blood libels, the accusations of poisoning wells and spreading the plague, when they sought to kill him. And others, the expulsions that took place throughout Europe, from the English expulsion in 1290 to the Spanish expulsion in 1492, when they simply wanted to get rid of him, let him go and be a slave somewhere else, far from here. Then came the Holocaust. And then came the State of Israel. The destination of the Jewish journey since the days of Abraham, the homeland of the Jewish people since the days of Joshua. No nation on earth, with the possible exception of the Chinese, has such a long association with the land. The day the state was born, 14th of May, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, its prime minister, sought peace with Israel's neighbors, and Israel has not ceased seeking peace from then until now. But this is no ordinary conflict. Israel's opponents, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of Iran, are not engaged in a border dispute, these boundaries or those. They deny, as a matter of religious, not political principle, Israel's right to exist within any boundaries whatsoever. There are today 56 Islamic states. But for Israel's neighbors, one single Jewish state the size of Wales is one too many. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. There is no other state among the 192 member nations of the United Nations whose very right to be is called into question this way. And while we as Jews argue among ourselves as to this policy or that, as if this were remotely relevant to the issue of peace, we fail to focus on the real issue, which is, so long as Joseph's brothers do not recognize his right to be, there can be no peace, merely a series of staging posts on the way to a war that will not end until there is no Jewish state at all. Until the sibling rivalry is over, until the Jewish people wins the right to be, until people, including we ourselves, realize that the threat Israel faces is ultimate and total, until Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah recognize that Jews have a right to their land within any boundaries whatsoever, all other debate is mere distraction. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. So the question is, first of all, I want to ask you when that was given and by who? Yeah. Yeah, he died in 2020. He died in 2020. And that was given a few years ago. So, and it was obviously based on this week's parasha. It was given on Miket. Now, the editors, he's still producing posthumously weekly parashiot. And what stopped me in my tracks was his reference, obviously, to what felt like what was going on today. We may disagree completely or agree completely with his analysis of history. That's not what I necessarily want to discuss, per se, because it can be quite, do you agree with his analysis of history? You know, he will take a very right-wing understanding of Jewish history, and that's not really where I want to go to. But it was what I felt was very interesting about what he was saying was really was that idea of sibling rivalry. We are related whether we want to be related or not. We are connected. We are connected through humanity. We are connected through our humanity, through the Christian people, through the Jewish people, through the Muslim people. We are ultimately connected. Whether or not you can trace it through Torah, and unlike Jonathan Sachs, I'm not a literalist of the Torah. So I will take some of what is in the Torah more as a story that is weaved to teach us morals and to teach us ethics. That's not where we stand within our Heinrich. We've had this conversation probably early in the morning on the way to Anzac, to the Anzac service. But the essence, the idea, the concept is we are brothers and sisters. We are people with a shared humanity. And do we fight? Yes. But do we have to acknowledge the right for one another? The right for one another to exist. Now, you know, I've shared many times where I sit on what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Israel. I also do not want to see the suffering of innocent civilians in Gaza. I have mentioned that. Do I want to see Hamas disappear because of the bloodshed that they are causing? because of their view of the Jewish people? Absolutely. But I also want to see, I do not want to see the innocent Palestinian children who are caught in the crossfire, who are being used as human shields, who are brainwashed as, through UNRWA. I'll say it. We've all seen the pictures and the images, who are taken as children to these training camps. The only thing that I think can really change is a complete change in the structure. I don't have the answer. I wish I did. But the only thing that'll change is a complete change, not a complete destruction of the Gaza Strip, not a complete destruction, not a complete obliteration. You may disagree, some of you may disagree, but a complete leveling, because that's just going to create, in my opinion, that's going to create another humanitarian crisis, raising up another generation of people who are going to hate Israel just as much. And that's what scares me, unless countries, and I'll put that on Israel and other Arab nations and other countries like European nations, as well as the United States, go in and help to rebuild and create a safe space for Palestinians who want peace to live in safety. I heard a safety, security with education, with quality of life. Over the last 30 years, Arab Israelis, their view of Israel has changed significantly because Israel has improved the quality of life of many Arab Israelis. So they have become more pro-Israel in their view, thankfully. Otherwise, it would be a different situation right now. So I know what I'm saying is, I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but then I'm not a rabbi because I want everybody to agree with me. I think one thing we all want is peace, but I don't think any of us will agree on what that peace means, and that peace at any cost isn't necessarily what we all want. But what we don't want to see are children being used as human shields, the innocent loss of lives. We don't believe all the propaganda that comes out from the Hamas, if it even exists anymore, the Hamas propaganda machine. But we do need to be sensitive to certainly what the Australian media is saying, in the sense of where is the truth. I haven't watched much of it lately, but our hearts, we just know that most of the hostages, I don't believe, and this is where my sadness lies, most of the hostages that are left, I'm not sure how many of them will be reunited living with their families, but the way that things are going. And there's a sadness, which is why we light a candle. But I do pray for a speedy end to what is happening in Gaza. I pray for healing for people on all sides, for the innocents on all sides. And I pray that we don't forget as well what's happening in Ukraine, because I feel like to some degree, we've also forgotten a little bit. And may God bring peace to the entire world. And let us say, Amen. And you're welcome, not now, but to enter into great debate with me, and I look forward to that. Let us rise for Aleinu. We turn to page 586. So, Nadia and Jacob, would you like to open our ark for us? I'll show you what to do.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא את הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושרינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא את הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושרינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כל כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, השמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
So we turn now to the Kadishaton, the Mourner's Kaddish. Which we can find on page 598. For the week of Shiva, we remember Sharon Hubner, mother of Elijah Carver, who's the grandson. Elijah is the grandson of Andrew and Gwen, and I think it's their Sharon is the ex-daughter-in-law, I believe. We also remember Penny Jakubowicz, OAM past president of the UPJ, wife of Andrew Jakubowicz, and Rabbi David Ellenson, former president of Hebrew Union College, and the rabbi that made me a rabbi, because you need a rabbi to make a rabbi. He gave me smicha, as we say. And for the Shloshim, we share the names shared with us from the Perth Chevra Kadisha. Vicky Dawson and Daniel Gordon, Daryl Gilbert and Pearl Novice. And the Yahrzeits, we remember Thelma Coltup, sister of Brenda Austin, Sari Solomon, grandmother of Amanda Mace, Dina Kahan, grandmother of John Katz and Di Drachenberg, Paula Strauss, grandmother of John Katz and Diana Drachenberg, Eric Silbert, father of Hillary, Laura Rayner, aunt of Ray Findley and sister of Thelma Gunsberg, Keith Sivan, son of Lorraine Sivan, Alice Frieden, mother of Shirley Stanwicks, and of course remember all those who have lost their lives through terror across the world and through war. If you'd like to mention the name of a loved one through Shiva, through Shloshim, or if this is the yard site of a loved one, I invite you to share their names out loud at this time. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be for a blessing, as we join together in one voice, as is our custom to support one another. Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, chayachon v'yomechon, v'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'izman kariv v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei d'Kodesha b'richu, le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom v'imromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. Hamakom yenachem echem b'tosha havlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen. As we are seated, just a few announcements. Tomorrow there is Shabbat Shacharit services at 10:30 as normal, and then there is book club in the library and coffee club. Hopefully people aren't in both, otherwise you got a conflict because they both at 12:30. I don't think, well, I don't know, a nice cup of coffee with a book is not a bad thing. Cup of tea, maybe. And you know our library is now operational. You have to sign up for it. Yes, you didn't read Maharash, Emily. It is very exciting. Thank you for your woo! Yes. It wasn't a surprise woohoo, it was a celebratory one. The library does accept books, but please know we won't accept doubles of books, and we won't accept really tattered books, so please send your book list to the keepers of the library because they are discriminatory on books, if I can put it that way. Monday, Mahjong. Wednesday, Israeli dancing.
No?
No? Yes, we're not in the holidays yet. There is Israeli dancing, Margaret just can't remember. But her dancing shoes will be there. And then Friday and Saturday services. There will be services all the way through. There's always services on a Friday and Saturday, but there's no other programming until the second week of January. There's no board meetings, or there's no meetings, there's no board meetings, there's no other meetings, there's no clubs, there's no nothing. We're just going into dormant mode for the summer. So that's all good. I will not be worth anything if I don't mention Dove and Dine and Dance on February 5th.
January.
January 5th.
February.
And February, the first Shabbat. And Shmooze will be back on Wednesday, the 31st of January. Anything else I've left off? No? No? Okay, I have a feeling my drush upsets everybody tonight. So I'm excited to hear from, I'm sure, the president at templedavid.org.au. Because looking, I said something that upset everybody else. Some statements were far left-wing and some statements were far right-wing tonight. So I upset everybody, or I made everybody happy at some point. I will leave it to our final song, Shomer Yisrael, page 633.
Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shmo Sherit Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shmo Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovat Yisrael, Ve'al Yovat Yisrael, Ha'omrim, Shema Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Goy Echad, Shmo Sherit Am Echad. Shomer, Shomer Goy Echad, Shmo Sherit Am Echad. Ve'al Yovat Goy Echad, Ve'al Yovat Goy Echad, Ham Yachadim, Shemcha Adonai Echad.
Shabbat Shalom. Please
Shabbat
join
Shalom.
us for Kiddush.